I guarantee that this will have nothing to do with the coronavirus epidemic, except perhaps a passing mention. This is going to be about the Odyssey. And so, next up on my coronavirus reading list is the Odyssey by Homer, or so it is said, in a translation by Richmond Lattimore. Reading this at this time seemed to make a lot of sense to me. On the internet, everyone seems to be talking about being on their journey, that life itself is a journey. And so I thought, okay, you want a journey? I'll give you life as a journey, or a journey as a life, and that would be the Odyssey. Odysseus leaves his kingdom, Ithaca, to go off and fight the Trojan War, and that takes 10 years. He starts for home, but Poseidon is against him, and it takes him another 10 years before he can return. The book was not at all what I expected it to be. The hero, Odysseus, doesn't even appear until book 5. I think it is. There are 24 divisions or books in the whole poem. It starts off plainly enough. Tell me, Muse, of the man of many wars who was driven far journeys after he had sacked Troy's sacred citadel. But then the story is hijacked by the troubles in Ithaca in the absence of the king. Suitors are there, hoping to replace him and marry his queen, Penelope. They sprawl around his household, drink his wine, slaughter his cattle, hogs, and sheep for feasting, and they have their way with his servant girls and insult his son, Telemachus, just coming of age, and also plot to kill him on his return, if he returns. Penelope keeps the suitors at bay with a winding sheet she is making for Laertes, Odysseus' father. During the day she works on it, then she takes it apart at night. After a few years of this, one of the servant girls gives her deception away, and she has to finish the winding sheet and choose among the suitors. Telemachus wants to see if he can find some word of his father's fate, so he sails away, thinking that he surely must be dead after all these years. And then we return to that same unfortunate man. He is being held against his will by a nymph, Calypso, who wants to marry him. Athena, Odysseus' constant benefactor, convinces Calypso to let him go, and his travels resume. We see some of his exploits, but much of them we learn when he comes to another land and spins his tale to the court, hoping that monarchs will pity him and help him by sending him off once again on his way home. We might remember that Odysseus is famous as a man of words. He is the ultimate unreliable narrator. He makes things up or embellishes fancifully, knowing a better tale will enhance his standing in any court. It came as a surprise to me, but one of the great themes of the book is not so much the journey, as you might think, but hospitality, the duties of the host to a guest, and the accompanying responsibilities of the guests to the host. Zeus, the father of the gods, is also the god of guests. There is so much in the book about hospitality. A guest remembers all his days the host who received him, as a host receives a guest, and gave him the gift of friendship. The good host is one who receives respected strangers and then sends them off on their journeys. The Odyssey would not be possible without this interaction of guest and host. Odysseus returns the hospitality in full measure by entertaining his host with his remarkable stories. Whoppers, you might say, tall tales. A good tale has considerable value. A storyteller, be it Odysseus or Homer, is a much respected person, and Odysseus is a very clever man. He is called much enduring, patient-hearted, and resourceful. He is known for trickery and deceit. In the Trojan War, the horse was his idea. He knew how to say false things that were like true sayings, the skill of a born storyteller. And this ultimately weaves the entire story together. The suitors must be killed because they have had such bad manners. They are the all-time worst house guests. Odysseus thought he would punish the suitors, for they had no gift of modesty. These men paid no attention at all to any man on earth who came their way. So by their own recklessness they have earned a shameful death. Odysseus returns to Ithaca, and with Athena's help he disguises himself, and over the span of 8 or 10 books he plots to restore himself as king. He reveals himself to a few trusted servants and his son, and is discovered by a nurse as well as by his old dog. They finally slaughter all the suitors, and a brief war of retribution follows. But it is ended by Athena. Odysseus is back, but he tells Penelope, surprise, that he must be off again to appease the gods. He's a traveling man, made a lot of stops all over the world.